their overall experience through the deliverables and if they want to continue working with you. But also, if not, do they recommend you to other people, right? Like, these are the things that really help build and grow your business when you are serving your people. Welcome back, everyone. We are back in the cozy corner and we are, chilling in our cash work clothes here. I am super excited to chat with you today. As you know, I've been talking a lot about topics for social media managers, which I am so passionate about because if you're a social media manager, I love you, I care for you, I'm here for you, I understand you, and I'm just really all about, serving social media managers and to help you grow your businesses. And I've been just really passionate about that lately. So we're gonna continue the trend, we're gonna continue the topic, and today we are going to talk about 5 things that you may be forgetting in your client experience as a social media manager. Now, client experience is truly one of my favorite things to work on and talk about in business. I don't know, I just find it so exciting and just something that I think we can constantly be improving on, and something that I really pride myself on in my business is having a stellar client experience from literally first impression to, offboarding and last day working together. I think it is just so important, and something that I think a lot of social media managers could really harness and improve upon, right? We can all learn from each other. And with this to say that where my client experience is today is from many years and countless situations and learning moments along the way that I have learned from, I've grown from, things that I've learned from other people. So just know that client experience is never one of those things that you can fully check off the list as, okay, done, I have an amazing client experience, right? It's constantly going to be improving. You're constantly going to be learning things. There's constantly going to be new tools or features or things that you can tweak. So just know that, and that what I'm going to talk about today are typical themes that I see from other social media managers, things that I've heard from clients about other experiences of working with social media managers. So hopefully this will be really helpful, even if you're just starting your social media management business or you've been in it for a little bit, on where to start or how you can tweak and improve certain things with what are things that I may be missing or that I'm not thinking about, because I think so many of those questions kind of come to mind in being an entrepreneur and an online business owner is what am I missing? I want to make sure what's everyone else doing, right? It's so hard to know. There's no exact handbook, right? For all the steps on what to do. But that's also what's so great and so fun about it, is that you get to create this business. You get to create this client experience that you want for your business and that you feel is personal and special and unique to you and your brand. So just know that, just in general about client experience. But the things I'm going to be touching upon, I think, are really important. I think are, again, things that most people either forget about or don't put enough attention into, but they make a huge difference in how your client feels throughout working with you, and can really impact if someone decides to work with you, their overall experience through the deliverables, and if they want to continue working with you. But also, if not, do they recommend you to other people, right? These are the things that really help build and grow your business when you are serving your people. So we're going to start with number 1, and this may be really obvious and duh to some people, but trust me when I say I have kind of experienced this on the other side and that I've heard from other people. And this is so important because it's such a first impression in working with you. You want to make it as easy and seamless as possible for someone to pay and sign their contract to work with you. I know, it sounds so simple, but this means you need to have your back-end processes from inquiry to onboarding seamless and really easy for your clients to do those two actions quickly together, right? Like typical one step that they can do this and that they don't have to jump through hoops, right, to try and do this. So meaning, can they do this online, right? Can they do card? Do you have really clear on how to pay this? How are they signing, right? I've gone through many instances of people signing, a contract and an invoice separately, which, is fine. I think having them together is ideal. But also, I go to sign a contract and it's, a PDF, and I have to go somewhere else to download this PDF to sign it and then I have to try and figure out how to send that back. Like that is creating way more hassle on me. That's gonna delay me in signing the contract, and it's just like that little bit of frustration, right? Or I went through this experience recently with not a social media manager, but just like a contractor in general, asking me to put down like a deposit, put down a payment, and just said, okay, send me this X amount of money. And I'm like, okay, how? Like what, like this was through him, like how do you typically accept these? Like, do you have a payment portal? Like, how should I do this? And it ended up going back and forth where it took days for me to put down this deposit when it could have been a simple, like automated link for me to pay this online through my credit card, right? Like, so that just makes your client experience after they've decided they want to work with you, like if they can pay and sign super easily. If it's a pain in the butt, you don't want people being like, oh, like, is this kind of how the rest of like working with them is gonna go, right? Like, is this gonna be difficult? And so just, you want to make this like first step, this first impression in working with you, such an amazing experience. So can you combine, if you're sending the payment and contract in one, can this all be, again, just like automated after, you've sent the proposal or after, you've had the call with them? That just sets the tone for the rest of their experience in working with you. So that's why it's number one. So number two, which I think some people miss, was this client a referral? And a really great way to track this is, in their intake form where they can say if they were a referral, who referred them, because you want to recognize that referral with who referred them, right? So this is a client experience for not necessarily the person who's coming on, but for the person who referred them and who is a client, right? So making sure you're following through with what your referral policy is, and that referral is being rewarded and recognized, because that's how you're going to get more referrals. So make sure you have this in your back end. You have, a way to know how they were a referral, and you have like a task that is set to fulfill that referral policy. I think a lot of people can't forget about this. So do not forget about your people who are supporting you and telling people about you and leading to more clients for you. Number three, which I love because it's interesting. I feel like one of my love languages that I show love is through giving gifts, but it's not necessarily how I receive love, which I think is interesting. But are you giving some sort of welcome and sign-on gift to this new client? Whether this be maybe you're sending a virtual like little welcome card, or maybe you're sending them a little Starbucks gift card, or maybe you're sending them like a full-on package that gets, delivered to their house, or a letter that gets delivered to their house, or something like that. I think especially if they are, like a bigger package client, I think this is like such a nice touch. And something that I love to receive when I decide to hire someone and work with someone. And it just makes starting with this, social media manager, let's say, makes it so much more special and like a celebration. And it's like, wow, like they took the time to do this, right? Like they thought this through, right? And also making sure you have this in your onboarding process, right? To actually fulfill this for every client that comes on, and streamline this so you have a clear process for what this looks like for clients. I just think it's so appreciated, it's so special. And not only that, but also like clients, maybe they'll post that on their story, right? And show like that you have a great client experience, and that would only show more people that you recognize your clients, that you invest in your clients. So I love doing little things like that. And not only like a welcome gift, but also throughout the time working with them, like birthday gifts I think are great. If there's any milestone or things like, along the way that you want to recognize, I find are just so, again, they're so special, and it just makes a lasting impression, on a client. So recognize these things, and show that appreciation, and know that you don't have to spend a ton of money on these things, that there are a lot of other creative ways on how to do this. So the fourth thing that is primarily, again, has to do with onboarding, but I think is just really important throughout the working relationship, is just having clear communication and keeping to your timeline and deadlines. Like, it sounds so simple, but these things make such a huge difference. They really do. Like, first, when you're onboarding, like, are you being really super clear on what the process is going to look like, right? Like what the deliverables are, what the onboarding start date is, what the package start date is, how to communicate with you, right? Like all these little things. Are you being super communicative up front? And are you following through with that timeline? Like, you want to be the person who is on top of it. And throughout your working relationship, same thing. Like, hold yourself accountable to if you set a deadline, right? If you say you're going to do something, when you say you're going to do something, like that follow through and accountability is so super important. And I've heard from, clients that, past people they've worked with haven't followed through with those things, and that they're the ones chasing them for something, or like wondering about, like, you don't want your clients to have that experience. You want to be the person who is on top of it, right? And let's say you set a deadline and maybe you're feeling like you can't make it, communicating that to the client ahead of time and saying, being proactive and saying, here's what I am going to do, and when, here's the new, deadline or timeline, whatever that may be. Those things, just simple, clear communication, like huge, especially as a social media manager. Like, this isn't just like posting and ghosting, right? Like, this is a relationship that you are building with your client. So make sure you're following through. Make sure you're someone that they can count on, and they're not just gonna not hear from you for a couple weeks, right? Like, that's not a great experience. So please just clearly communicate and stick to your timelines and deadlines. Number 5 is having streamlined automations. And I touched upon this a bit when we talked about onboarding and when we talked about paying and contracts and things like that, but make your backend as streamlined and automated as possible. So for instance, when a client signs and pays their contract, they automatically get sent their welcome email that includes, their welcome and onboarding packet right away. And that's something that is templated. We've had it done. It's automated. And again, it's like, that's such an instant gratification as someone, signs and pays to work with you, that they get this like exciting welcome email and packet to their inbox instantly. Like, that is huge. So the more that you can add those elements throughout your client experience, the better it feels, for your client. And the more it also shows that you have your game together, right? That like, what you're doing. This is not just like any like other business. Like this, you got it together, girl, My favorite way to do this is through Honeybook or Zapier. If we're talking about some tools for automation, I'd highly recommend to look into those things. And I'm gonna add a little bonus here, which I guess is like 6 things. So you're gonna a bonus thing on something that people forget. And that is your offboarding process. I heard recently from a client that signed on with me recently that her past social media manager, like, after she told her she wasn't going to continue working with her, the social media manager kind of just like didn't have any offboarding process, and that it was just really unclear to her what the offboarding looked like, and just didn't make her feel good, you know, at the end of working with this person. And, you know, she also said that, you know, down the line, let's say things didn't work out, you know, working with me and my business, that if her client offboarding experience was great, maybe she, you know, would have gone back to her. But because it like wasn't, that just, it just put a sour taste in her mouth, right? Like, it's just these little, but they're not so little things make an impact. So make sure that you have, again, a clear, a streamlined, and automated offboarding process for people when they offboard, so they know what those steps are going to be, what the timeline's going to be. You're sending them, you know, a farewell email, maybe they fill out a feedback or a survey, testimonial, whatever it may be. All those little things add up, and you put in that effort to set that up for your business. So those are my top 5, I guess 6 little things that you may be forgetting in your client experience when it comes to being a social media manager. And so just know that even though you're a social media manager and, you know, you're super creative and maybe, you know, artsy and into marketing and all those things, it doesn't mean that your back end is neglected. It doesn't mean that you can't have a stellar, you know, back end and operations and automations and things like that, because those things are what will set you apart from other social media managers and from other businesses. So just take the time to set these things in place. And if you're looking for support on way more like this, and support on how to actually implement and what to implement and how to go about this, the perfect place for that is in my group mentorship for social media managers, my social media manager BFF, where we dive into this and way more, where I'm so hands-on to help you implement all these things, to teach you, to guide you, and just truly am your right-hand gal for all things in your social media management business. So to learn more about what it's all about, the link will be in the show notes or the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Go ahead and pop your name on the wait list for when I officially launch the program. You will be the first to know and will be able to be the first to grab your spot. So yeah, let me know. As always, my DMs are always open, so ask me any questions in there. If you had any thoughts after listening to this, whether you are listening or on YouTube, go ahead and leave a review, subscribe, follow, all those things. It is so super appreciated, and I will chat to you next time.